Ladies and gentlemen, when a man contacts you, it's easy to get caught up in the moment. You might feel flattered, perhaps even desired, but it's crucial to remember just because someone reaches out, it doesn't mean that you should lower your standards, your self-respect, or your boundaries. You must never make the mistake of thinking that attention is the same as value. Self-respect is the cornerstone of every successful and fulfilling relationship, especially when it comes to interactions with men. It is the most essential element in establishing not only a healthy dynamic with others, but, more importantly, a strong relationship with yourself. When a man contacts you, you are faced with the opportunity to either uphold or compromise your sense of self. Too often, many women fall into the trap of undervaluing themselves simply because they desire attention or affection. It's important to realize that self-respect is not a conditional or situational trait. It must remain unwavering no matter the circumstances, and certainly not at the expense of fleeting attention from others. First and foremost, maintaining your self-respect means recognizing your own value. The mistake many women make is to tie their worth to the approval or interest of a man. Society has ingrained in us the belief that external validation, whether from a romantic partner, friends, or colleagues, defines who we are. However, this couldn't be further from the truth. Your worth is not determined by someone else's perception of you. When a man contacts you, it should not be the moment where your entire sense of self is validated or put on trial. You don't need his attention to feel significant. Your value is intrinsic, built on your personal accomplishments, beliefs, and principles. External attention can be a positive experience, but it is not your defining metric. When you respond or engage with a man, the primary question should be whether this interaction aligns with the values and standards you have set for yourself, not whether you are meeting someone else's expectations. Many women, particularly those who struggle with low self-esteem or are seeking approval, tend to respond to messages or initiate contact based on the fear of rejection or the craving for affection. This leads to the compromise of their dignity as they begin to mold their behavior to fit what they believe the man wants. However, self-respect is about knowing and accepting who you are, irrespective of someone else's opinion. It means being in a position where you are at peace with your own existence and you do not seek approval in order to feel whole. Part of maintaining self-respect involves knowing your own worth and refusing to accept anything that doesn't align with your self-image. When you lower your standards or make compromises just to please someone or keep their attention, you send a message to yourself that you don't believe you deserve better. You teach yourself that the only way to be valued is to settle for less than what you know you are worth. This is the slippery slope that leads to diminished self-esteem and a loss of dignity. There's also the matter of emotional investment. When you make the mistake of compromising your self-respect, you start to emotionally invest in someone who might not even deserve your attention. You pour energy into a relationship or connection that is one-sided, or you might continue to invest in someone who only contacts you when it benefits them. This pattern can cause emotional exhaustion as you're investing your time, thoughts, and feelings into a relationship that doesn't offer you the respect and acknowledgement that you deserve. Emotional self-respect means reserving your time and energy for those who reciprocate it, those who see you as an equal, who value your thoughts and feelings, and who treat you with the respect you have already given yourself. Another aspect of self-respect is knowing when to walk away. Too many women make the mistake of holding onto a relationship, contact, or situation simply because they're afraid of being alone or losing someone's attention. In reality, holding on to someone who doesn't respect you only diminishes your value. Self-respect means having the courage to say no, to draw a line when a relationship or interaction becomes damaging or one-sided. It means not tolerating behavior that diminishes your dignity, whether it's manipulation, inconsistency, disrespect, or emotional neglect. Walking away doesn't mean giving up. It means protecting your emotional integrity, ensuring that your worth is always honored and respected. Self-respect also plays a key role in how you handle miscommunication or conflict. When you have respect for yourself, you don't tolerate unhealthy arguments, manipulation, or unbalanced dynamics. You don't apologize when you have done nothing wrong. You don't bend to fit someone else's narrative or allow someone to gaslight you into believing you are the problem. You are able to stand firm in your own truth and calmly express your boundaries, needs, and desires. Whether a man contacts you with good intentions or with less honorable motives, self-respect ensures that you don't react emotionally, impulsively, or submissively. Instead, you respond with clear, grounded communication that reflects your value as an individual. Equally important is the recognition that self-respect is not about perfection, nor is it about always acting with total composure. It's about maintaining a deep inner conviction of your worth and not letting external circumstances shift that understanding. Self-respect is a constant practice. It is a commitment to yourself and your values, regardless of the situation or the person involved. This does not mean that you will always be calm or rational, but it means that in the face of temptation or when someone reaches out, you will remain grounded in your truth and not compromise your core sense of self for fleeting satisfaction or attention. Seeking validation from others is an ingrained pattern that many women fall into, particularly in the context of romantic interactions. This drive for external approval can be a natural part of the human experience, but when it becomes the primary force guiding your decisions and interactions, it can cause immense damage to your sense of self-worth. It's easy to become entangled in the pursuit of external validation, especially when someone shows interest in you or reaches out. However, the critical mistake many women make is allowing this external validation to define their sense of self and dictate their actions. When a man contacts you, it's tempting to view his interest as a reflection of your value. In a society that often places women's worth on how they are perceived by others, it's understandable that this desire for validation is so deeply ingrained. But the danger lies in the fact that seeking validation from someone outside of yourself means that your self-worth becomes unstable. You are no longer the one defining your value, someone else is. This leads to an unhealthy dependency on others for a sense of purpose, self-esteem, and even emotional stability. Validation should come from within, not from external sources, and certainly not from a man's attention. The first and perhaps most fundamental point to grasp here is that no external validation can ever fill the void created by a lack of self-respect and self-acceptance. External validation is fleeting, it's dependent on the behavior of others, which is out of your control. Someone may contact you one day and shower you with praise, only to ignore you the next. This inconsistency can lead to feelings of worthlessness, anxiety, and confusion. If your self-esteem is dependent on how often a man reaches out or how much attention he gives you, you are setting yourself up for emotional instability. The moment he withdraws his attention or affection, you may find yourself spiraling, questioning your own value. This is the danger of seeking validation from outside sources. Instead of focusing on how others perceive you, it's critical to turn inward and evaluate your own sense of worth. The essence of self-validation is rooted in self-knowledge and self-acceptance. It's about understanding who you are, what you stand for, and what you deserve in any relationship or interaction. When you validate yourself, you are no longer swayed by the whims or judgments of others. Your sense of worth is consistent and unwavering. The attention of a man should not define how you feel about yourself. Your relationship with yourself should always be your foundation. The mistake many women make is thinking that the attention or admiration of a man can complete them in some way or somehow affirm their value. This belief often leads to a cycle of seeking out attention from men, sometimes to the point of desperation. If you are constantly seeking validation, you become susceptible to settling for relationships that don't serve you or align with your values simply because they provide the temporary affirmation you crave. This often results in unhealthy dynamics where you end up pleasing the other person, putting their needs and desires above your own in exchange for validation. When you seek validation, you also set yourself up to disregard your own needs, wants, and boundaries. You might accept behaviors that don't align with your principles simply to maintain the attention or affection of the other person. In a relationship, this becomes a dangerous pattern. You lose yourself in an attempt to keep the other person's approval, and in doing so, you fail to protect your own sense of self. Your boundaries, goals, and desires become secondary to someone else's opinion of you. This is not healthy. It's an imbalance that will erode your self-esteem and leave you feeling empty. A key aspect of avoiding the trap of validation seeking is learning to recognize your own accomplishments and qualities without needing someone else to point them out. This requires cultivating self-awareness and the ability to appreciate your own value without relying on external sources. You need to become comfortable with your own presence and identity. When you reach this level of self-reliance, the attention or contact from a man becomes secondary, a nice addition to your life rather than the defining factor. You will no longer feel as though your worth is determined by whether or not he is present or engaged. Seeking validation can also cloud your judgment. When you place too much importance on what others think, especially in romantic relationships, it becomes difficult to objectively assess whether the relationship is healthy or fulfilling. You may overlook red flags, ignore toxic behavior, or even stay in relationships that aren't serving your long-term happiness. This is because the validation you're receiving becomes a form of emotional currency, something you're unwilling to give up, even if the price is your peace of mind or your values. This behavior can lead to feelings of emotional exhaustion and resentment as you continually compromise your own needs to seek external approval. Seeking validation often leads to a distortion of reality. When you are constantly measuring your worth based on another person's perception of you, you lose sight of your own authentic desires and intentions. You start to behave in ways that you think will get you the validation you crave, rather than acting according to your true values and authentic self. This is dangerous because it sets you up for disappointment. A person who is seeking validation is not living in accordance with their true self. They are living for the approval of others. When that approval is no longer forthcoming, they are left feeling lost, disillusioned, and disconnected from their own truth. Seeking validation is a never-ending cycle of external dependence. It can be tempting, and at times it can feel like a quick fix to your self-esteem. However, in the long run, it prevents you from developing a strong, resilient sense of self. Validation should not come from anyone outside of you, not from a man, not from anyone. It must be cultivated from within, based on a deep understanding of your own worth, your unique qualities, and your intrinsic value. Only then can you enter relationships with the confidence that you deserve respect, love, and care, not because someone else tells you so, but because you already know it to be true. Boundaries are a fundamental part of maintaining a healthy, respectful relationship with yourself and others. When a man contacts you, it is essential to establish and communicate your boundaries clearly, without hesitation or fear. Boundaries define the limits of what is acceptable to you in terms of behavior, time, energy, and emotional involvement. They serve as the framework for self-respect and are crucial to protecting your well-being. Without clear boundaries, you risk allowing others to treat you in ways that diminish your worth, disrupt your peace, and undermine your values. The first step in being clear about your boundaries is understanding what they are. You cannot effectively communicate boundaries if you haven't first established them for yourself. Take the time to reflect on your values, your comfort zones, and what you are willing to tolerate in any relationship or interaction. Boundaries are not simply rules about what others can or cannot do. They are reflections of your core principles. They are about knowing what you need to feel respected, secure, and at ease, whether it's about the way someone speaks to you, the time you are willing to invest, or the level of emotional intimacy you are comfortable with. Boundaries are a personal declaration of how you expect to be treated. Once you've identified your boundaries, it's vital to communicate them clearly and assertively. This can be a difficult step for many, especially if there is a fear of rejection or confrontation. However, the reality is that boundaries are not negotiable. They are an expression of your self-respect, and if someone truly values you, they will respect your boundaries. This isn't about creating barriers or distancing yourself from others. It's about creating space for mutual respect and understanding. A clear boundary does not need to be harsh or rigid. It simply needs to be firm. If a man contacts you and asks for something that crosses a boundary, whether it's an inappropriate request, a demand for your time, or an expectation that doesn't align with your comfort zone, you must be prepared to communicate that this is not acceptable. The ability to assertively say no or to explain your needs is empowering and necessary for preserving your sense of self. A critical element of establishing clear boundaries is consistency. Boundaries are only effective when they are enforced consistently. If you communicate your boundaries once but then allow them to be crossed because you feel guilty or because you fear upsetting the other person, you send mixed messages. People will not know where you stand, and this creates confusion and opens the door for your boundaries to be disregarded. It is essential to be firm and consistent in your approach. If you say you need space or time to yourself, stick to that. If you request respect in how you are spoken to, expect that standard to be maintained. When you allow someone to cross your boundaries once, it becomes easier for them to do so again. Each time you let a boundary slide, you are subtly signaling that your needs are not a priority, which diminishes your self-worth. Enforcing your boundaries also means being comfortable with the potential for discomfort. There will be times when someone, particularly a man you are interested in, pushes against your boundaries. They may attempt to guilt you into giving more than you are willing to, or they might try to convince you that your boundaries are unreasonable. It's important to recognize that these moments are not reflections of your inadequacies, but rather tests of your strength and clarity. If someone truly respects you, they will understand that boundaries are not about control, they are about mutual respect. If they resist or challenge your boundaries, this is a sign that they do not honor you, and you are faced with a choice. You can either hold firm and maintain your boundaries or allow them to be eroded. The choice you make will have a significant impact on your emotional health, self-esteem, and the quality of the relationship. Boundaries are also about protecting your emotional well-being. One of the most challenging aspects of relationships is the balancing act between closeness and autonomy. It can be easy to get lost in someone else's needs or desires, especially if you are seeking validation or approval. However, without clear boundaries, you risk becoming emotionally enmeshed, losing sight of your own identity, and even neglecting your own emotional needs. You must recognize that your feelings, emotions, and mental health are just as important as anyone else's. You have the right to protect your emotional space, to say no to situations that cause you distress, and to prioritize your mental health. Whether it's setting limits on how often you communicate, how much personal information you share, or how much emotional energy you give, these boundaries are vital to ensuring that you remain whole and healthy in any relationship. Another crucial aspect of boundary setting is recognizing that boundaries can evolve over time. What you might be comfortable with at one stage of a relationship may change as you grow, change, or learn more about yourself. It's important to remain open to reassessing and adjusting your boundaries as necessary. However, this does not mean constantly shifting your boundaries to please others or avoid conflict. It means evolving in a way that honors your changing needs while still protecting your fundamental values. Growth should not come at the cost of your sense of self, and boundaries are there to protect that growth. Be prepared for the potential consequences of setting boundaries. Establishing and maintaining boundaries can sometimes lead to rejection or conflict, especially if the person you are interacting with is not used to your level of assertiveness. This can be particularly difficult in the early stages of a relationship when you may fear that setting boundaries will drive someone away. However, it's important to recognize that setting boundaries is not about manipulation or control. It's about self-preservation. If someone cannot respect your boundaries, they are not the right person to be in your life. A person who truly cares for you will appreciate the clarity and respect you have for yourself, and they will adjust to your boundaries accordingly. Being clear about your boundaries means prioritizing your needs and respecting your own worth. It involves knowing who you are, what you need, and being able to communicate those needs without hesitation or guilt. When you do this, you create the space for healthy, balanced relationships based on mutual respect and understanding. You protect yourself from unnecessary stress, emotional turmoil, and manipulative behavior, and you ensure that your relationships are aligned with your values and aspirations. When you enter a relationship, it's easy to become absorbed by the dynamics of it, especially if the person you are involved with is someone you deeply care about or feel strongly attracted to. Relationships are a natural part of human life, and they offer opportunities for connection, companionship, and growth. However, it's crucial not to lose yourself in the process. Losing yourself in a relationship happens when you begin to prioritize the other person's needs, wants, and expectations over your own, to the point where your identity, values, and desires fade into the background. This is a dangerous pattern, one that can lead to emotional depletion, confusion, and a diminished sense of self-worth. To maintain a healthy relationship with another person, you must first maintain a healthy relationship with yourself. The first step in preventing the loss of self in a relationship is to be aware of your own individuality and maintain a strong sense of self-awareness. When you enter a relationship, there is a natural tendency to invest emotionally, to bond, and to form a deeper connection. This is a healthy and necessary part of being in a relationship, but it is equally important to stay in touch with who you are outside of the relationship. You must understand your core values, your goals, and the things that make you unique. You need to recognize the things that bring you joy, the activities that nourish you, and the principles that guide your decisions. If you are always seeking to meet the other person's needs and desires without considering your own, you risk neglecting your individuality. Over time, this can cause your sense of self to erode. In a healthy relationship, both people should have the space and freedom to pursue their own interests, goals, and aspirations. You must not allow the relationship to become the center of your universe, as it can quickly start to overshadow other aspects of your life. For example, when you lose yourself in a relationship, you might stop spending time with your friends, neglect your career, or put aside your personal hobbies and interests. You might prioritize your partner's plans over your own, or you might start to align your dreams with theirs, even if they no longer resonate with your authentic self. This sacrifice may seem like an act of love or commitment, but in reality, it's a loss of personal identity. You cannot truly love or fully commit to someone else if you are not also committed to yourself. If your identity is constantly defined by the relationship, you risk losing sight of who you are and what truly matters to you. The desire to please the other person can also lead to losing yourself in a relationship. Many people, especially those with a strong need for approval or validation, will go to great lengths to meet the expectations of their partner, even at the cost of their own well-being. This can result in you suppressing your own needs, desires, and boundaries to accommodate the other person. If you are constantly making sacrifices for the sake of the relationship without ensuring that your own needs are being met, you are setting yourself up for burnout, resentment, and emotional exhaustion. True love and respect in a relationship are built on reciprocity. You should never have to lose your individuality or personal well-being to make a relationship work. Both partners should feel valued for who they are as individuals, not solely as extensions of one another. Losing yourself in a relationship can lead to emotional dependence. When you center your entire emotional well-being around someone else, you allow your happiness to become tied to their actions, approval, or attention. This creates an imbalance in the relationship, as one person is left carrying the emotional burden of another. Healthy relationships are based on two individuals who maintain their own emotional autonomy while sharing love, support, and companionship. You should never feel like you cannot function or be happy without the other person. When you allow your emotional stability to be dependent on someone else, you not only risk losing yourself, but also the balance necessary for a healthy relationship dynamic. Another common reason for losing yourself in a relationship is the desire for constant closeness or connection. It's easy to become so absorbed by the other person that you start to neglect other important relationships in your life. Friends, family, and personal connections outside the relationship are vital to maintaining your emotional health and sense of identity. If you find yourself withdrawing from these connections or letting them deteriorate because you are so focused on your romantic partner, it's time to reassess the relationship dynamic. No matter how close you become with someone, it's essential to remember that you are not defined by the relationship alone. Your social circle, your personal passions, and your sense of community are just as important. If a relationship starts to isolate you from these aspects of your life, you are at risk of losing a part of yourself that is crucial to your overall well-being. To prevent losing yourself, you must also learn how to maintain healthy boundaries within the relationship. Boundaries are not just about physical space or time, they also involve emotional boundaries. You must be able to express your needs, desires, and concerns openly with your partner, and you should feel empowered to do so without fear of rejection or criticism. When you are unable to express yourself freely and feel that you must always conform to the other person's expectations, you begin to lose touch with your authentic self. Being able to communicate your thoughts, emotions, and boundaries is essential to ensuring that you do not become a passive participant in the relationship. Your voice matters, and you should never feel like you have to suppress it to maintain harmony. Losing yourself in a relationship is a reflection of not having a clear sense of self-worth and self-respect. When you fail to maintain your individuality, you undermine your ability to contribute to the relationship in a meaningful way. The relationship can become unbalanced, with one partner sacrificing more than the other. You must recognize that a healthy relationship is one where both individuals remain distinct, autonomous, and whole. While love and connection are important, they should not come at the cost of your personal identity or sense of purpose. A strong relationship is one that nurtures both people as they continue to grow, thrive, and pursue their own dreams, while also supporting and encouraging each other in the process. Intuition is a powerful, often overlooked tool that resides within us all. It's that subtle inner voice, the gut feeling, the hunch that guides us even when logic or external opinions suggest otherwise. When a man contacts you and you begin navigating the complexities of a relationship, it's essential to trust your intuition, your inner wisdom, no matter how much the external world may pressure you to ignore it. The power of intuition is not only a natural gift, but a survival mechanism that helps protect us from harm and guides us towards situations that align with our true selves. The first step to trusting your intuition is learning to listen to it. In a world that often values rationality, logic, and external validation, it's easy to overlook the quiet, instinctual guidance that intuition provides. In the early stages of a relationship, when emotions and desires are running high, you may find yourself caught up in the whirlwind of affection, excitement, and possibility. But during these moments, it's critical to pause and attune yourself to what you truly feel. Your intuition is always speaking to you, but it requires quiet and reflection to be heard. Trusting your intuition means giving it the space to rise to the surface so you can evaluate the situation with clarity and honesty. You may not always understand why you feel a certain way, but it's important to recognize that those feelings are valid and worth exploring. A significant reason to trust your intuition is that it often senses things that your conscious mind may not immediately grasp. Intuition picks up on subtle cues, nonverbal communication, energy, and patterns that may not be immediately apparent in your logical mind. For example, when a man contacts you, how does it make you feel? Does it spark excitement, or does something feel off? Do you feel a sense of ease and respect, or do you feel anxious or uncertain? These are signals from your intuition. Sometimes people's actions may appear charming or caring on the surface, but your inner wisdom may pick up on inconsistencies, red flags, or underlying intentions that your conscious mind misses. Trusting your intuition in these moments helps you navigate the complexities of a relationship with more awareness and discernment. Intuition is also a powerful tool when it comes to protecting yourself emotionally. Relationships, particularly romantic ones, can be intense and vulnerable. You expose your heart, your time, and your energy to someone else, and in doing so, you open yourself to the possibility of both connection and heartbreak. Your intuition, however, acts as a guard, protecting you from emotional harm. If something feels wrong or unsettling in the relationship, it's essential to acknowledge those feelings rather than dismissing them as paranoia or overthinking. Often, when we ignore our intuition in favor of what we want or what we hope will happen, we set ourselves up for disappointment or emotional pain. Your intuition is there to help you avoid situations that could lead to unhealthy dynamics, manipulative behavior, or emotional abuse. When you listen to your gut feelings, you're less likely to ignore the signs and more likely to preserve your emotional well-being. Trusting your intuition helps you align with your authentic self. At the core of every healthy relationship is the need for both individuals to be true to themselves. When you ignore your inner voice and compromise your needs, desires, or boundaries to please someone else, you lose touch with your true identity. Intuition is the voice of your authentic self, reminding you of your values, your goals, and your worth. When you follow it, you maintain the integrity of who you are and what you want out of life. Intuition guides you toward relationships and experiences that reflect your true self and away from those that push you into roles or behaviors that feel foreign or uncomfortable. Trusting your intuition also involves recognizing the difference between fear and true intuition. Fear often masquerades as intuition, especially when it comes to opening up to someone new. Fear is based on past experiences, insecurities, or anxieties, and it can cause you to overanalyze or assume the worst. True intuition, on the other hand, is calm, steady, and rooted in a deep understanding of yourself. It's important to differentiate between the two because while fear can cloud your judgment and prevent you from moving forward, intuition is a reliable guide that will help you stay true to yourself. If something feels genuinely off or unsettling, it's not simply fear, it's your intuition alerting you to potential danger or discomfort. By cultivating awareness of your own emotional landscape, you can better discern when fear is taking control and when your intuition is speaking. In relationships, intuition can also guide you toward understanding the other person more deeply. You may not always understand why you feel a certain way about someone, but your intuition can provide insights that are not immediately evident. If you feel a connection with someone that is grounded in respect, mutual understanding, and authenticity, your intuition will support that. If something about the person seems off, whether it's their behavior, their words, or the way they make you feel, your intuition will tell you to proceed with caution. Often people present one side of themselves, but your intuition picks up on subtleties in their behavior that might reveal a different truth. Trusting your intuition helps you avoid falling for surface-level charm or flattery and encourages you to explore the deeper dynamics of a relationship. It's also important to recognize that intuition doesn't always provide immediate clarity. Sometimes your gut feeling might simply tell you to slow down, take a step back, or observe the situation more closely. It may not give you all the answers right away, but it will guide you toward a place of awareness and self-reflection. The more you practice trusting your intuition, the more attuned you become to it, and the clearer the guidance will become over time. This is a process of building trust in yourself, in your own ability to discern what is best for you and your emotional health. Your intuition will become stronger and more reliable as you learn to honor it, and it will guide you through the complexities of any relationship with greater confidence. Trusting your intuition is a vital skill that allows you to navigate relationships with a sense of self-assurance, emotional protection, and authenticity. It helps you understand and honor your own feelings, make informed decisions, and avoid situations that do not serve your best interests. Whether it's deciding how to respond when a man contacts you or evaluating the dynamics of a relationship, your intuition is an invaluable resource that will always have your back if you choose to listen to it. In conclusion, when a man contacts you, it's crucial to maintain your sense of self and not lose sight of your boundaries, values, or emotional well-being. Never make the mistake of seeking validation, sacrificing your identity, or ignoring your intuition. Be clear about your needs, respect your worth, and trust your instincts. A healthy relationship begins with mutual respect, communication, and understanding. By maintaining your self-respect, being clear about your boundaries, and listening to your intuition, you ensure that you remain true to yourself while building a relationship grounded in respect and authenticity. Protect your peace and honor your individuality.